The Baylor University Bears are celebrating today after winning their first men's Division I basketball championship. The Bears jumped out to an early lead against the undefeated Gonzaga Bulldogs and never looked back. The final score was 86-70. It was a team effort, but Baylor guard Jared Butler led the way with 22 points and was named the Final Four's most outstanding player. Earlier, he told CBS This Morning why he declined to enter the NBA draft last year and gave his college championship dreams one more shot.
After the first year when we had a pretty good run at it and then we had a phenomenal season, it was like, oh, this season is like really good. Like we were like, there's no way we can get better than this. And then coming back, we kind of already had the experience. We already knew what each other can do, and we gelled pretty perfectly. But it just took one extra year or just another opportunity. And the guys, they did a great job. Davion, Maceo, Adam, Mark Vital, Flo Thamba, Jonathan, Matthew Mayer, all those guys, man, they're amazing and really great high-level people and high-level basketball players as well.
All right, for more on the game, let's bring in CBS Sports writer Chip Patterson. So, Chip, Gonzaga was the favorite last night, but by no means was Baylor a true underdog. How did the Bears get their early lead and maintain it to deny the Bulldogs a perfect season?
Physicality, and I think that shows up in the box score with the offensive rebounds. They got 16 of them, the blocks, the steals. We like to take these national championships in American sports, and we like to compare them to boxing. And this really was a prize fight, and it was strength and size against finesse. And strength and size came out and threw absolute haymakers in those early rounds. And finesse, Gonzaga was a little bit stunned. Now, Gonzaga had done awesome things, and these two teams combined, as you mentioned, for the highest winning percentage in an NCAA tournament final history. Only 2 losses, both of them coming from Baylor. But I think that the way that styles make fights in the NCAA tournament, the fact that Gonzaga was thrown off its game early and never had a response, really, really impressive performance from the Baylor Bears right here. And I think it really speaks to what Scott Drew has been able to do, coming to a program that was in the midst of scandal in 2003, working for 18 years to build up to this point and deliver the promise that he made at his introductory press conference that you can win a national championship at Baylor. So this is a great moment for him. And for Mark Few and Gonzaga, heartbreak, having made it to the national championship game twice, last time in 2017, now in 2021, totally different rosters, but the same disappointing result each time, falling to a power conference opponent.
So can we talk a bit about the Baylor program? Head coach Scott Drew took the helm nearly 2 decades ago when the team was at the bottom of its conference. Tell me more about his tenure and how did he finally reach the top of the college basketball world?
Vlad, one of the things I love about this Baylor team is how it's indicative of a new way to win in college basketball. And as a head coach, how you need to be able to not only recruit the high schoolers, but be able to go identify players that are in college basketball. It's a lot of change in college sports with the transfer movement, the transfer portal, players moving around. But that's not bad. In fact, what Scott Drew has shown you is he can take a team where of the top 7 players in this rotation, more than half of them, 4, started their college career somewhere else. And he was able to go and find a player like a Maceo Teague and say, why don't you just come to my program? I think you'll be a better fit. Davion Mitchell, number 45 on the floor, just tremendous ferocity last night. He was coming off the bench at Auburn when he started his college career. And the stories continue around this Baylor roster where he was able to take all of these different personalities who had started their college careers in all these different places. And as Jared Butler mentioned, they were just able to gel. They continued what they had going last season. And it's just been really impressive because I think that while some in college sports fear that more player movement and more transfers might be something that's bad, Vlad, I argue that it's good because it allows these players to be able to find a new home. The decision that you made at 17 years old might not be the right decision for you at 20. And Baylor has shown that a combination of players that are recruited out of high school, like a Jared Butler, who first met Scott Drew when he was a youngin', and players from other programs can all come together, commit to one season, and try to go accomplish the greatest feat in the sport, and that is win the national championship.
Well, Gonzaga came within a win short of a perfect season, but I'm curious about the legacy of this Bulldogs team. How How did the team react last night after the loss? And a couple of years ago, they found themselves in a similar position, right?
Yeah, this is wildly disappointing, and the difference in how history will remember Gonzaga, like if we were to put them on a chart, they're on the total opposite ends. I mean, it is win and you are sports immortality, the first undefeated national champion since Indiana in 1976. And instead, you fall in a line of teams since 1976 that have made it all the way to the Final Four, but not won the national championship. That's Larry Bird and Indiana State in 1979. It's one of those stellar UNLV running Rebels teams from 1991. It is Kentucky in 2015 with John Calipari, and now it is the Gonzaga Bulldogs in 2021. Now, the makeup of this team, I still will argue, was fantastic, and everything they've accomplished was impressive. They have the highest efficiency margin of the modern era, and they ran away with all kinds of records. The computers say that this team is great, but the computers are not always what legislate the way that we talk about sports and the way that we remember sports in our culture. So instead of being, again, sports immortality, undefeated national champion, first since Indiana in 1976, they are instead part of a Sporkle quiz to go on there with Indiana State and UNLV and Kentucky as the teams that made it to the Final Four, almost got the job done, but just fell a little bit short.
And as you know, college basketball fans have been waiting for this tournament for a while, of course, after last year's was canceled due to COVID-19. Just looking back on the tournament, what moment stood out the most to you?
The fact that we only had one game in this NCAA tournament that had to be postponed or canceled because of COVID issues. It was in the very first round, and it was involving a VCU team that was coming right off its conference tournament run. And since then, the controlled environment, which was not a true bubble, but certainly they had the highest kind of technology available in terms of contact tracing, wristbands for all the players, tight protocol, testing every single day, and high quality testing at that. Time, money, resources were poured into trying to get this thing done, to have every game but one pulled off and to be able to crown a national champion. I think that alone is something where we need to be able to be thankful, and we need to also give some credit where credit's due. And then, like you mentioned, the wait made some of the moments of this tournament. Jalen Suggs and Gonzaga with the buzzer beater in overtime against UCLA to wrap up an all-time kind of finish. The Oral Roberts story, a 15 seed being able to make it to the second weekend. All the double-digit seeds, Oregon State making it to the Elite Eight, Loyola taking down Illinois. It's like we waited all this time, and the NCAA tournament, it filled out the entire recipe. It gave us our meat, our potatoes, our vegetables, our appetizer, our dessert. It was everything that we wanted, and it seemed to be all wrapped up in one tournament, including the first time that we'd had the overall number one and the number two team, according to the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee seed list, like the top number one and the second number one, first time they met for the title since 2005. And while it didn't give us an instant classic or a buzzer beater finish, Vlad, it did give us a worthy champion, and that's the Baylor Bears.
Chip Patterson, I mean, I love how you framed it, that it gave us everything we wanted. But remember, Chip, we are Americans. We're gluttons. We want more, more. So I'll have to wait till next year. Chip Patterson, my friend, thank you very much. Appreciate it.